Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly noticed a strange smell, then wondered, is that coming from me? It might sound a bit sensitive, but it's a very real issue that many of us face, especially as we age. The human body changes over time, and body odor is one of those signs that few people talk about. Yet it's something we shouldn't ignore. Doctors call this phenomenon old person smell, a combination of several factors like dry skin, hormonal changes, and lifestyle habits. But the odor doesn't just come from the body. It also hides in places we often overlook in our daily cleaning routines: behind the neck, behind the ears, under the fingernails, or even around the house in the sofa, carpets, or closets. These spots accumulate bacteria and odor over time, if not properly cleaned. So in this video, I'll be sharing some practical, easy-to-apply tips to help you refresh not only your body, but also your living space, so you can always feel confident, comfortable, and welcomed by the scent of your own home. I'll reveal 6 commonly overlooked areas, places you might have never thought of that could be the hidden culprits behind unpleasant smells. And the surprising thing is, just a few small changes in your daily routine can make a big difference. I know this is a sensitive topic, but the more we avoid it, the more likely it is to quietly grow into a bigger issue. Stick with me until the end of the video, especially for tip number 6, because that's the one that completely changed how I take care of my living space. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support is what motivates me to keep sharing practical knowledge for everyday life. If you're interested in this topic, type 1. If it's not quite for you, type 0, so I know how to improve future videos. Alright, let's get started. 1. Behind the ears and the folds of the neck. One of the moments that truly woke me up to the importance of self-care happened on what seemed like a completely ordinary Sunday morning. After church, my little niece, my precious little angel whom I love dearly, ran up and gave me a big tight hug. There's something so special about a child's hug, honest, warm, and full of love. But then she wrinkled her nose just a little. It was a fleeting expression, so subtle that most people might not have noticed. But I did. I bent down and asked her what was wrong, and her response made my heart sink. "Grandma, your neck smells funny." In that moment, it felt like the world stopped. I was embarrassed, confused, and kept wondering how I hadn't noticed it myself. When I got home, I rushed to the bathroom to check. My makeup was still fresh, my clothes were clean, but when I touched behind my ears and around my neck, I felt a light layer of oil, some dampness, and a strange odor I had never paid attention to before. I grabbed my phone and started researching, and I was surprised to learn that this is completely normal as we age. Our skin starts producing a specific kind of fatty acid called 2-non-enol, which can lead to odor if not cleaned properly. The area behind the ears, the neck, and the nape is rich in oil and sweat glands, yet it's often overlooked in our daily hygiene routines. Leftover hair products, lingering perfume, or even nighttime sweating can all contribute to odor buildup in this region. Since that day, I completely changed my hygiene habits. I no longer just wash my face like before. I now take a few extra minutes each day to gently clean behind my ears and neck with a warm cloth and mild soap. I also started paying more attention to accessories like scarves, wigs, and pillowcases. Anything that can hold on to odors over time. And you know what? That one small change made a noticeable difference. I felt fresher, more confident, and most importantly, I stopped worrying about others noticing anything unpleasant. My niece no longer wrinkled her nose, she just hugged me and smiled brightly. That was all the confirmation I needed to know I was on the right path. Sometimes the smallest things, like cleaning behind your ears, can help you step out into the world with a renewed spirit, lightness, and confidence. Trust me, caring for those often forgotten areas isn't just about hygiene. It's a way of showing love to yourself every single day. So if there's one piece of advice I want to leave with you today, it's this. Don't forget the back. It's a tiny detail that can make a big difference in your everyday life. Area number 2. Under the breasts. It might sound a little delicate, but this is something we need to talk about honestly, especially as age begins to leave its clear marks on the body. Back in the day, my breasts stood proud, like springtime blooms in full glory. Now they're more like two weary travelers slowly settling down near the waistline. I'm not complaining. It's natural, the result of time, childbirth, and gravity's relentless pull. But there's something few people talk about directly. The skin under the breasts starts becoming a problem zone. It's often damp, dark, and prone to sweat buildup, especially during summer or after physical activity. Whenever I wore a bra all day, that subtle discomfort would build up quietly. Not sharp pain, not intense itching, but a persistent dampness that made me long to get home and take everything off. Then, one day as I bent over to fold laundry, I caught a faint but strange smell, something musty and hard to place. I froze for a second, then realized it was coming from me, from under my breasts. A wave of embarrassment swept over me like a cold breeze. That's when I understood this wasn't just a private issue. It was affecting my confidence and how I felt about myself. I started researching and wasn't surprised to find that many women silently go through the same thing. Bacteria thrive in moist environments, and when skin rubs against skin, like in the crease under the breasts, it's a recipe for yeast irritation and unpleasant odors. It doesn't matter if your breasts are big or small. If there's any curve, that area can become a hotspot, so I changed the way I cared for myself. Now, every morning and evening, I take a few minutes to gently wash under my breasts with unscented soap, pat the area completely dry with a soft towel, and apply a thin layer of natural powder to absorb moisture. On hot days, or when I'm wearing multiple layers, I tuck a thin cotton cloth under the area to keep it dry throughout the day. One thing I've learned is this: when you start loving the parts of your body you used to ignore, your body responds with comfort and your heart responds with confidence. I used to think this was a small issue, but it's actually a real part of the self-care journey as we enter midlife. I've shared these tips with my friends, and what surprised me most was how many of them sighed in relief because finally someone had the courage to speak up. No, you're not strange, and you're not overthinking. You're simply doing the right thing for yourself. Always remember, your appearance isn't just about how you dress or apply makeup. It's also about the quiet things like dryness, cleanliness, and the feeling of comfort underneath your clothes. Because if there's one thing that can make us look more tired and worn out than wrinkles, it's a body that feels damp and smells unpleasant. And we experienced women deserve to feel confident and radiant from the inside out. Area number 3. Inside your shoes. It may sound like a small detail, but it's actually one of those things that can cost us points in the most unexpected moments. Let's be honest, how long has it been since you checked or sniffed the inside of the shoes you wear most often? Not to gross you out, but to remind you, no matter how polished we are in our appearance or self-care, our feet, and more specifically the shoes that cover them every day, are often overlooked. I used to be that person. I wiped down my shoes, polished them, even sprayed deodorizer on the outside, but completely ignored the inside. That is until one day, after enduring foot odor for far too long, I took my shoes to see a podiatrist. He didn't say much, just flipped my shoes over, gave them a quick sniff, then looked at me with a gentle but honest expression and said, "This smell is the result of a long history of neglect." It felt like my shoes were ratting me out. And you know what? He was right. I had no idea that feet, each with over 250,000 sweat glands, could produce so much moisture in a single day, especially when confined in tight shoes for hours. That sweat doesn't just evaporate, it gets absorbed into the lining, building up over time, mixing with dead skin cells to create a very specific smell. One no perfume can cover up. We often think washing our socks is enough, but the truth is, if we don't care for the inside of our shoes, all our efforts go to waste. From that day on, I completely changed the way I care for my shoes. I started sprinkling baking soda inside them every night before bed. In the morning, I just shake it out. Voila! Dry, fresh-smelling shoes again. I also learned to remove the insoles, wash them with warm, soapy water, and let them dry in the sun. Sunlight is nature's deodorizer. I bought a few extra pairs so I could rotate them daily because shoes need to rest too, just like we do. For my leather shoes, I added small activated charcoal inserts, compact, inexpensive, and incredibly effective. Since I started doing these simple things, I no longer worry about standing close to someone or bending over in the grocery store, fearing someone might catch a whiff of foot odor. You know, confidence begins with small details like this. You don't need a fancy spa or expensive products, just a little mindfulness and a few good habits each day, and you can step out with peace of mind. Caring for the inside of your shoes doesn't just protect your feet, it shows that you value yourself from head to toe, inside and out. Trust me, nothing is too small when it comes to cleanliness and confidence. Shoes touch the ground every day, and they carry you through the world, so treat them like a part of your body. Because when your feet feel fresh and comfortable, you'll feel the difference in every step. Fourth, let's talk about the familiar upholstered chair or armchair, that quiet companion during peaceful afternoons and relaxing evenings. Close your eyes and imagine this. You've just taken a shower, slipped into soft pajamas, holding a warm cup of tea, turned on some gentle jazz, and sunk into your favorite chair. The one that's been with you through countless reading sessions, TV nights, phone calls with loved ones, or simply those moments where you just sit and take a slow, deep breath. The warm embrace of that chair becomes part of your daily rhythm. But you know what? That comfort can sometimes hide an uncomfortable truth. After years of companionship, the chair doesn't just hold memories, it also collects every shed hair, every dead skin cell, every drop of sweat and the natural oils from our bodies. Every time we lean back or rest our arms on the fabric, the material absorbs a little more of us, quite literally. It's no coincidence that some interior experts have called the armchair a home-based biological archive. In fact, according to certain studies, the cushions of a long-used armchair can contain more dead skin cells than a mattress that's been slept on for several years, and that's enough to make anyone pause and reflect. Especially as we age, our sense of smell can dull, so it's harder to detect those lingering odors. Things may seem perfectly fine to us, clean even, but a grandchild or younger visitor might catch a faint mustiness and innocently blurt out, "This place smells like an old person's house." It might sound funny, but there's an honesty to it that can sting a little. That's why I always remind myself, cleanliness isn't just for others to notice, it's for me to live in a space that feels pleasant and worth taking pride in. I have a few little tricks to help keep it that way. Every week I sprinkle some baking soda on the surface of the chair and let it sit for about an hour before vacuuming thoroughly. In the spring and fall, I rent a steam cleaner or hire a professional to deep clean the fabric, especially on chairs with thicker upholstery. I also tuck small sachets filled with lavender, dried orange peel, or cedarwood into the crevices of the cushions, just enough to add a soft, warm, clean scent without being overpowering. The armrests, which tend to soak up the most oils from our hands, get a gentle wipe every week with a damp cloth and a drop of mild soap. These little things may sound minor, but they make a huge difference. The room doesn't just look tidier, it feels fresher, and I find myself loving my home a little more every time I walk into it. Because your living space, especially the place you sink into after a long day, should make you feel cared for. And with just a bit of attention and steady care, that old chair can become more than just a place to sit. It can be a cozy, loving corner that people are drawn to, and one where you'll always feel happy to welcome them. Fifth, let's talk a bit about the wardrobe, that often overlooked space that quietly plays a big role in how clean and confident we feel each day. It's not just where we store clothes. It's almost like an emotional archive, from the dress you wore on your first date to the old sweater someone gifted you years ago. It's easy to see why we tend to hold on to everything even if we never wear it. We leave it there as if those pieces carry a part of our memories. we are not quite ready to let go of. I often call my wardrobe a personal textile museum, where each item tells a story, even if I've forgotten what some of those stories are. But here's something we rarely consider. Wardrobes are dark, enclosed, and warm, ideal conditions for dust, humidity, and mildew to slowly build up. You might not notice any smell when you open the door, but put on a shirt that's been hanging in there for too long and you'll likely sense a lingering mustiness. Something that doesn't necessarily make you look bad, but makes you feel not quite clean. The reason is simple. Fabric has memory. It absorbs moisture, holds onto smells, and traps tiny layers of dust, invisible to the naked eye. If you live in a humid place, or if you simply don't open your closet often to let air circulate, everything inside can start to take on a signature scent. The smell of left untouched for too long. I once discovered a favorite leather jacket had developed a light layer of mold around the cuffs simply because I hadn't worn it in ages. From that moment on, I changed how I care for my wardrobe. Every few days, I open the doors wide to let in air and light, as if I'm letting the closet breathe. I place moisture absorbers and scent sachets made from cedarwood cinnamon bark or dried lemon peel in the corners. Not only do they keep things smelling nice, but they help prevent mold. I also tuck small bags of activated charcoal into the drawers, cheap, effective, and long-lasting. Once a month, I wipe down the shelves, vacuum the closet floor, and check in on the items I don't wear often. And here's a personal rule I live by: if I haven't worn something in 2 years, or if every time I see it I think maybe someday it's a sign, it's time to let it go. I donate old clothes, give them to someone who needs them, or toss them if they're beyond use, because keeping them doesn't make me feel any better. Every time I do this, it feels like I've cleared not just physical space, but mental space too. A tidy, clean, and pleasantly scented wardrobe helps me start my day feeling lighter and more confident. You know, clothes aren't just for wearing, they affect how we feel about ourselves. When you treat your wardrobe with care, you're sending a small but powerful message. I care about myself, and trust me, that feeling spills over into every other part of your life. Sixth, let's talk about one of the most overlooked areas of the body, the space between the toes. It might sound minor, but this spot plays a crucial role in your daily comfort and health, especially as you get older. From a young age, we're taught to wash our feet every day, but few people emphasize the importance of thoroughly cleaning and drying between the toes. And you know what? As we age, our skin becomes thinner, healing slows down, and circulation in the feet decreases. All of that makes the damp area between the toes a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and fungi. I remember visiting my elderly friend Doris once. Sitting in her living room, I caught a faint scent, slightly sour, slightly musty, like old cheese. Not overpowering, but just enough to make you wrinkle your nose. Doris used to think it was the old carpet, the dog being messy, or even blamed her poor husband. But eventually we found the source. Her feet, specifically the space between her toes, that rarely got attention. This can happen to anyone. And honestly, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just part of the biology we all live with as we age. What matters is how we deal with it. Since that day, I've built a new habit. Every time I shower, I use a soft cloth and mild soap to gently wash between each toe. Then I sit down and carefully dry each toe with a clean separate towel. Not rushing, not missing a spot. On hot or humid days, I'll add a touch of tea tree oil, a natural antibacterial with a gentle, pleasant scent to keep the skin dry and fresh. If I've worn shoes for a long stretch that day, I'll sprinkle a little cornstarch or foot powder to absorb moisture and leave a cool, soothing feeling. I also change my socks daily, choosing lightweight moisture-wicking fabrics, and I never ever put on shoes with damp or unwashed feet. You know, you can be freshly showered and dressed to the nines, but if you've neglected the space between your toes, each step can still leave behind traces of odor on your shoes, your carpet, or even your bedsheets, your feet. Those two quiet companions that have carried you through life. deserve proper care, attention, and love. Cleaning thoroughly between your toes doesn't just eliminate bad smells, it also helps prevent infections, athlete's foot, and other stubborn conditions. It's a small habit, but when practiced consistently, it brings greater comfort, confidence, and real health benefits. Self-care isn't something lofty. It begins with small details like this, where love and respect for yourself shine through most clearly. And that's all I wanted to share with you today. Small habits that may seem insignificant but have the power to change how you feel about your home and your body. Taking care of every little corner in your living space and every detail on your body not only helps you feel cleaner and healthier, but it's also a way of showing appreciation for yourself after all the years you've lived. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe so we can continue this journey together in future videos. There's still so much more for us to explore and learn together. Thank you for listening. And remember, a clean home and a well-cared-for body are the most wonderful gifts you can give yourself every single day.